A quick update on the subscriber battle we are having with our AFC West foes here at Chat Sports. We are just off the lead right now, less than 10 subs behind the Raiders report. But here's the beautiful thing. They have completely checked out. They don't think that this is going to get close at all. I would love to come from behind a late fourth quarter push right now. So help me do that. Hit that sub button if you hate the Chiefs. You hate the Raiders, you want to help a Broncos YouTube channel grow, and we get to stick it to them here at Chat Sports. Yay, more trade buzz. Yep, the story that just refuses to quit is back for more. Matthew Peterson here from Chat Sports with the latest on some Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton trade buzz coming out of the NFL owners meeting, which is just kind of like the Diet Coke of the Combine, right? Where the owners, the GMs, head coaches, they're together, reporters are there, so we get some leakage, we get some stories out of it. Listen, I tried to not talk about more Jeudy and Sutton, trade updates unless we got something really new. And I do think this is something decently new. So Dan Graziano from ESPN in his post-NFL owners meeting takeaways and write-up with some other big J's at ESPN, well, he had this to say on Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton. The Broncos aren't hanging up the phone when teams call them about receivers Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton. Denver needs picks and knows it could get something of value in return for one of those guys. But at this point, with a month left before the draft, the Broncos are still asking a lot in return. We will see if things change as the draft gets closer, but for now, Jeudy and Sutton remain Broncos, and nothing seems like it's close to happening to change that. So, we're going to look at some, different possibilities moving forward, but let's sort of just set the baseline with this. The rumored asking price for Jerry Jeudy is a first. For Courtland Sutton, it's a second. So with that, when you look at the Broncos 2023 draft picks here, it's not very nice, right? They've only got 5 picks coming up. Now, this is not new information. Unless you're just tuning in for the first time this offseason, we know all this, right? We know that Denver doesn't have a lot of draft picks. We know that teams have been calling. And Sean Payton at the NFL owners meeting said, we're not trading them, more or less, right? Which makes me believe, why are we even having this conversation then? Well, Denver's not in a rush to trade either player, but if an offer comes in that they can't refuse, I do believe they will end up pulling the trigger on a deal, right? I don't think Denver is dying to make a trade, but I do think that they are trying to walk both sides of the line of, hey, we are taking calls, so if you've got something for us, let us know. But if they don't get anything good, they can quickly turn to the locker room and tell Jeudy and Sutton, we were never interested in trading you, right? That's what we told the media. But at the same time, low-key, we are a little bit interesting, but it's got to be a really good offer. So we're not dying to trade them. So if it's not for a first or a second, we'd rather just hold on to them. Now, if you had to pick an option, which one would it be? Jeudy for a first or Courtland for a second? This is the pinned comment on today's show. So if YouTube sticks an ad break when I'm done speaking, use that to your advantage. Get down to the pinned comment section and let me know. Now, since Jerry Jeudy entered the league in 2020, we want to go head-to-head stats here between the two guys. It's a no-brainer, in my opinion, now, who is really emerging as the clear wide receiver one between this duo. You could make an interesting argument. Where does Tim Patrick slot in between these two players here? Probably Jeudy, Patrick, and then Sutton, but hard to say with Tim Patrick coming off an ACL injury. Anywho here. So let's break down these two players, starting with Courtland Sutton, right? Kind of going through the X's and O's, sort of just getting into the weeds a little bit of, should the Broncos trade him away? What could they get, right? Things like that. Let's start by addressing Courtland Sutton statistically, since he got a big contract extension, what he has done. Middle of 2021 season, George Payton rewards him with a nice, healthy extension, and he has put up sort of zilch since then, right? 988 yards and 2 touchdowns in 22 games. That is simply not what the Broncos invested in when they gave him that nice 4-year, $60-ish million contract extension. So, with that being said, my verdict on trading Courtland Sutton, I would trade an expensive-ish, right? He's not over the moon, but he's not dirt cheap wide receiver who struggles to separate, which is sort of his downside, for a second-round pick. If the guy's coming off 2 straight down seasons, unfortunately an ACL tear in his past as well, you sort of add all that together. If someone's offering you a second-round pick and you can get a second-rounder back for a guy you once used a second-round pick on, seems like a pretty good time to tap out, reset, and go get another wide receiver in round 2 if you really like them. So I would do it if a second-rounder came. If it's not a second rounder, a third, I can get behind, but still would prefer just a second. A fourth or a fifth, it's a little bit like, no, I'd rather just take the chance and hope Courtland Sutton bounces back than going on a day 3 flyer pick that may very well not be on the team for a second contract. Now, second player we're going to talk about here, Jerry Jeudy, of course. Should the Broncos trade Jeudy for a first-round pick, right? Moving to the other side of the equation. So, Jerry Jeudy in his career, he has not been a 1,000-yard receiver once. And I think if you just did a blind resume test here, you would not look at those stats and go, now that's someone you give up a first-round pick for, right? But when you're picked in the first round, you sort of get the benefit of the doubt that you will eventually get to that first-round, status. So, Jerry Jeudy trade destinations after we saw the Browns trade for Elijah Moore and the Cowboys trade for Brandon Cooks. These are really the only 4 teams I think that make the most sense for a possible Jerry Jeudy trade. The Patriots at 14 continue to be interested and then not interested in trading for wide receivers. Green Bay was interested last year for Jerry Jeudy. Maybe they could revisit that. Baltimore 22, they are aggressively pursuing OBJ to keep Lamar happy. If OBJ goes to the Jets, maybe Baltimore pivots to a guy like Jeudy. And the Giants at 25, they have also been rumored to be interested in Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. Here's my take. If it's the Patriots or the Packers at 14 and 15, I'm sort of in no questions asked, right? I understand Jerry Jeudy is ascending. He played great down the stretch last year, the last 6 games. You hope that you can get those 6 games over the course of an entire season, but I've yet to actually see that get done before. He's entering year 4. He's got 2 years left on his rookie contract. If there's an opportunity to not only maybe get a better receiver, period, but also reset the clock a little bit and get a good skilled position player for 5 years, that'll be tough to pass up on. Now, if it's the Ravens or Giants at 22 and 25, I'm going to say I'm out. And here's why. Look at the round 1 wide receiver targets, okay? I believe all 4 of these guys are locks to go in round 1. How many of those players will be available at 22 or 25? Maybe 2, maybe 1. I think we'll see 2 guys go before the 20th pick in the draft. I think it'll be Zay Flowers and Jackson Smith-Njigba. So if that's the case, then you better really fall in love with Quentin Johnston or Jordan Addison if you want to trade to the mid-20s, because pick 15 is way different than pick 25. Now, here are the college stats for these players. 2022 stats for everyone, excluding Jackson Smith-Njigba. He hardly played last season, so we'll show you his 2021 stats. I think if Zay Flowers does not go to Boston College, but he goes to a school like Ohio State or another big-name program, this is the consensus #1 pick, no doubt about it. But because he went to Boston College and he flew under the radar a little bit on the ACC network, I think he's not getting enough love and attention that he deserves. The guy is simply a phenomenal receiver. He has speed, and he plays way bigger than he actually is. Jackson Smith-Njigba, for a quick second on him, when Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, who had phenomenal rookie seasons, said that JSN was better than those 2 players, that speaks volume. Quentin Johnston, I think, is sort of like the next Mike Williams, big body receiver. Jordan Addison, he knows how to score touchdowns. I don't know if that's going to carry over to the NFL as well, but he has a knack for finding the end zone at Pitt and at USC. So if Denver somehow got back into round 1 with a Jerry Jeudy trade, who would you draft in round 1? Whether it's one of those receivers or someone else that you're like, man, if Denver just had a first-round pick somewhere in the middle, this would be my pick, no doubt about it. Very curious what names we're going to see come out of this question, so don't be afraid to chime in the comments section. That's going to do it for us on today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in, making us a part of your day. We'll see everyone tomorrow with more Broncos news and rumors, and hopefully it's different than the usual Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton trade buzz.